The sun was low over the quiet settlement of Valen, casting long golden shadows across the cobblestone streets. Smoke rose from chimneys, carrying the smell of fresh bread and roasted vegetables. In the center of town, a small human restaurant hummed with activity. Chef Rylan was carefully arranging herbs on a plate, humming to himself, when a soft noise at the door made him pause. He turned slowly, expecting a child or perhaps a delivery boy. Instead, he saw a small figure huddled against the frame of the door. It had scales that glimmered faintly in the sunlight, delicate wings tucked tightly against its back, and eyes wide with fear and urgency. In its tiny claws was a bundle wrapped in leaves. The creature's chest heaved as it stepped forward cautiously, placing the bundle on the doorstep. Ryland's brow furrowed. Dragons were rarely seen near human settlements, and most were feared. Large, powerful, and unpredictable, they were the source of many warnings and tales of destruction. But this dragon, it was small. Fragile-looking, almost childlike. Its golden eyes met his, filled with something Ryland couldn't name at first, pleading. The dragon's voice was soft but clear. "Please, my mother is ill. I brought these for you. Can you help?" Ryland blinked. He had never heard a dragon speak human words. His hands hovered over the counter, unsure if he should reach for a tool, a weapon, or simply step back. The dragon's words were not threatening. They carried urgency and fear, but no anger. "You're a mother?" he asked slowly. "You mean a dragon?" The little dragon nodded. Its wings quivered slightly, betraying its nervousness. "She is sick. The herbs in this bundle, they are special. She cannot eat normal food. Please, my mother will not survive without them prepared correctly." Ryland stepped back, still wary. "And you expect me to cook for a dragon?" His voice was tinged with disbelief. Other humans passing by stopped to stare. Whispers spread quickly through the streets. A dragon had come to ask a human for help. "Yes," the dragon said firmly, though its voice shook. "You know how to help. Please." "My mother?" Its eyes glistened, and for a moment, the little dragon seemed on the verge of tears. Ryland's heart softened. He had spent years cooking for humans, knowing their tastes and needs, but he had never imagined preparing a meal for a dragon. Still, the desperation in the small creature's voice touched something deep within him. "Come inside," he said gently, kneeling so that he was closer to the dragon's level. "We will see what we can do." The dragon hesitated for a moment, then stepped carefully into the restaurant. Its scales brushed against the floor, leaving tiny glowing marks where it touched. Customers moved back, giving the dragon space, and even the cooks in the kitchen stopped to stare. Some muttered warnings under their breath. Dragons were unpredictable. But this one seemed different. Ryland unwrapped the bundle the dragon had brought. The vegetables inside shimmered faintly, glowing with colors he had never seen before. Soft purples, deep greens, and golden yellows. The smell was unlike anything in his kitchen, earthy and fresh, with a hint of something sweet and warming. "They grow in the forest," the dragon explained. "Only in the north where the soil is alive. My mother cannot eat anything else. If the herbs are not prepared correctly, she will not survive." Ryland nodded, studying the vegetables carefully. Cooking was one thing, but this was different. He would have to experiment, understand the ingredients, and find the right method to make them edible and healing for a dragon. Failure was not an option. "Do you know how to prepare them?" he asked. The little dragon shook its head. "I tried. I cannot do it alone. Please, you are the best chef humans know. I had to come to you." Ryland swallowed hard. There was fear in the room, in the whispers of other humans, but he also felt a spark of curiosity. Dragons were intelligent, yes, but he had never seen one show such vulnerability and trust. This little creature had come alone, seeking help rather than threatening harm. "Very well," he said finally. "We will try. But you must stay close and tell me everything you know. I cannot read your mind." The dragon nodded eagerly, relief washing over its features. "I will. I can show you. I can help." Ryland cleared space on the counter and laid out the vegetables. He examined each one, touching gently, smelling carefully, noting the textures. The dragon hovered nearby, watching intently, occasionally pointing with a claw or tapping a leaf in a way that seemed almost like instruction. "Some must not touch heat too long," the dragon explained. "Some must be crushed before cooking. Others must be soaked in water from the northern spring. My mother, she cannot eat it raw." Ryland listened, nodding. He had never cooked for dragons before, but he understood the principles of care. Temperature, timing, preparation, everything mattered. One mistake could ruin the meal or worse. But he also understood something deeper. the dragon's trust in him. It had risked everything to come here. Hours passed. Rylan and the little dragon worked side by side, experimenting, testing, and preparing the ingredients with patience and care. The dragon's eyes lit up when something worked, and Rylan smiled at its small triumphs. For the first time, he realized that cooking was not just about taste or nutrition. It could be an act of compassion, a bridge between worlds. As the sun began to set, the final preparation was ready. The little dragon clutched the carefully packed meal, bowing its head in gratitude. "Thank you," it whispered. "My mother, she will live because of you." Rylan nodded quietly. "Go carefully," he said. "And tell her, she is lucky to have such a brave child." The dragon left with the bundle, moving swiftly but cautiously back toward the forests of the north. Rylan watched it disappear into the twilight, a sense of wonder and hope filling his chest. The day had begun with fear and disbelief, but it had ended with trust, courage, and the quiet knowledge that kindness could reach even the most unlikely of visitors. That night, Rylan cleaned his kitchen slowly, thinking of the little dragon's eyes and the gentle glow of the vegetables. He realized that this encounter was not just about cooking a meal. It was about understanding, empathy, and a choice to act when someone needed help. Something small had begun. Something that could change the way humans and dragons saw each other forever. And somewhere in the northern forest, a mother dragon stirred, her strength returning with every bite, unaware yet of the human who had risked so much to save her life. The little dragon had come for help. And the human chef had answered. The bridge between species had begun with a single act of trust. The next morning, the little dragon returned to the human settlement, moving carefully through the streets. Its wings twitched nervously as it approached the small restaurant where Chef Rylan had prepared the first meal. The streets were quieter now, the usual chatter replaced by whispers from curious onlookers. Some humans peeked from windows, hesitant to see a dragon so close, yet unable to resist watching. Rylan was already outside, arranging fresh herbs and small cooking tools on a table near the door. He had spent the night thinking about the little dragon's instructions, reviewing every detail in his mind. The herbs from the previous day had been carefully studied, and he now understood that the dragon's world was different in ways he had never imagined. These were not ordinary ingredients. They carried healing properties beyond anything human science had catalogued. When the dragon stepped forward, it hesitated. Its small body shook slightly, though its eyes were determined. "I brought more," it said softly. "Mother's strength is weaker today. She needs this meal prepared exactly as before. Please, Chef Rylan, will you help again?" Rylan nodded slowly, crouching slightly so that he was at eye level with the dragon. "I will help," he said. "But you must stay close and tell me everything you know about these ingredients. I cannot read your mind and I cannot guess what your mother needs." The dragon's wings flickered with relief. It stepped closer and carefully laid a bundle of fresh vegetables and herbs on the table. Each one shimmered faintly, glowing in shades of green and gold. "Some must not touch heat too long," it explained. "Some must be crushed gently before cooking. Some need cold water from the northern streams. My mother, she will not survive if I try alone." Rylan studied each item, touching them lightly, smelling their faint fragrances. The textures were unfamiliar and the colors seemed to shift in the light. Cooking had always been about precision, timing, and understanding flavors, but now it required something else: trust. The trust between a human and a dragon, two creatures who had never truly met before. "I will follow your guidance," Rylan said. "Step by step." The dragon nodded and together they began. The process was slow, careful, and delicate. Rylan crushed the leaves as instructed, then added small amounts to a simmering liquid he had prepared. The dragon hovered nearby, watching every movement, occasionally tapping a leaf or brushing a small scale against a tool to indicate a correction. Minutes turned into hours. The sun climbed higher in the sky, then began to dip as clouds formed. The humans in the streets watched silently, seeing the strange partnership between man and dragon. Some whispered in disbelief. "I never thought I'd see a dragon helping a human cook," one said. Another shook their head. "And the human trusts it, fully. That is impossible." But it was happening. The dragon explained the methods with patient gestures and soft words. Rylan adapted, learning the subtle ways to handle the alien ingredients. Some required gentle crushing, others careful boiling, others simply needed to be placed on the side until the right moment. Every mistake was noted, and the dragon guided him without anger, only gentle corrections. "You are learning," the dragon said softly. "Humans, you can understand more than we thought. You're careful. You do not rush. Rylan smiled faintly, wiping his hands on a cloth. I have to. Your mother's life depends on it. The dragon's eyes glimmered with gratitude, and for a moment, it looked almost fragile. Its trust in the human was absolute, even though danger and fear were always present in the world around them. Other humans still watched with uncertainty, but even they began to notice that the dragon's posture was calmer, less tense than it had been when it first arrived. By the late afternoon, the meal was nearly ready. Rylan had learned to balance the alien vegetables and herbs, maintaining their delicate qualities while combining them in a way that would nourish the dragon mother. The dragon hovered above the preparations, nodding occasionally, satisfied with the process. Now, the dragon whispered, we must deliver it quickly. My mother, she is waiting. Rylan carefully packed the meal into a woven basket. The dragon stepped forward, lifting it gently with its claws, its small wings balancing the weight. Together, they moved toward the northern forest where the dragon mother waited. The humans of the settlement watched them leave, a quiet sense of wonder in their hearts. No one dared speak. Something new was unfolding, a story of cooperation, trust, and understanding that no one had expected. As they approached the dragon's home, the forest seemed to shimmer. Trees bent slightly as if acknowledging their presence. Streams sparkled more brightly. The air felt warmer and gentler. The little dragon led the way carefully, ensuring that Rylan's steps were safe on uneven ground. Finally, they reached a clearing where the dragon mother rested, weak and pale against the soft grass. Her scales lacked their usual shine, and her eyes were closed. She stirred slightly as the little dragon approached, recognizing her child and the basket of carefully prepared food. The little dragon lowered the basket to the ground and turned to Rylan. Thank you, it whispered. I could not have done this alone. You helped me save her. Rylan smiled, kneeling slightly. It is not only your strength that matters, he said softly. It is the care we show for those we love. We can accomplish more together. The dragon mother opened her eyes slowly, sensing the presence of something new, human hands guided by trust and kindness. She sniffed the meal, then gently nibbled a small portion. Her strength returned gradually with each bite, and the little dragon perched nearby, watching closely, relief shining in its eyes. The forest around them seemed to sigh with peace. Rylan realized that the bond he had formed with the little dragon was stronger than any fear or doubt. Trust had bridged the gap between species, showing that understanding and kindness could overcome distance, danger, and difference. As the sun began to set, Rylan and the little dragon sat together, watching the mother dragon regain her strength. The partnership that had begun with a simple plea had grown into something deeper. Mutual respect, trust, and the knowledge that kindness could transform even the most impossible situations. Humans would speak of this day for years, and dragons would remember the small human who had learned to trust and help. Across worlds, the story of trust across species was born, not through force, not through fear, but through patience, understanding, and the courage to care. The little dragon had brought more than vegetables. It had brought hope. And the human chef had answered, proving that trust could cross even the widest of divides. The morning air was crisp and quiet as Rylan prepared his small kitchen for the day. The little dragon had returned at first light, carrying another bundle of vegetables and herbs from the northern forests. Its wings were folded neatly, but its golden eyes shone with urgency. The dragon's mother was still weak, and every meal mattered. Rylan laid out the ingredients carefully on the counter, touching each leaf and root lightly. The colors were brighter than the day before, greens so vivid they almost glowed, yellows like liquid sunlight, and purples deep as twilight. The scents were unfamiliar, sweet and earthy, and a faint warmth rose from them. Cooking for humans had always required precision, but these ingredients demanded something more: understanding and attention to their unique qualities. The little dragon hovered nearby, small claws brushing the edge of the counter. Some must be crushed gently, it said softly. Do not use too much heat. Too long in the fire, it will lose its power. My mother, she cannot survive if the herbs are wrong. Rylan nodded, his hands steady. I understand, he said. We will do it together. They began by examining each piece. The dragon demonstrated how to crush leaves with soft, rolling movements, and Rylan followed carefully, feeling the texture change beneath his fingers. Some herbs had tiny veins that needed to stay intact. Others required separation from the bundle to preserve their flavor. The process was meticulous. Mistakes could harm the dragon mother, and both of them knew it. This one, the dragon said, pointing with a tiny claw, must soak in water from the northern stream. Cold water. Not heated. Only then can it release its strength. Rylan measured carefully, filling a small bowl with water and placing the herbs inside. He watched as the colors shifted in the clear liquid, blending and softening without losing their glow. The dragon leaned closer, nodding when Rylan adjusted his timing to match the instructions. Hours passed as they worked side by side. Rylan experimented with crushing, boiling, and mixing in precise ways. The dragon corrected him gently when needed, tilting a leaf or nudging a bowl to indicate a different method. Mistakes were few, but when they happened they both learned. Each adjustment brought them closer to creating the perfect meal. "This one must be folded gently into the mix," the dragon said, wings twitching with focus. "If you stir too quickly it will lose power. My mother, she needs it whole." Rylan followed the direction carefully, rolling the mixture with a wooden spoon in slow circles. He watched the glow of the vegetables shift in the liquid, the colors blending without fading. The dragon watched, approving with quiet gestures. They paused only briefly for a small meal for themselves. Rylan offered a piece of bread and fruit, and the dragon accepted with a careful nibble. Their communication was mostly gestures and soft words, but it was enough. Trust had grown between them. Each knew the other's intentions. By midday the preparation was nearly complete. Rylan had learned to balance the unique flavors and healing qualities, combining them in a way that respected the dragon's instructions while using his own culinary experience. He could feel the energy radiating from the mixture, a warm, vibrant strength that seemed to hum with life. The little dragon hovered closer, eyes wide. "It is ready," it whispered. "Carefully, please. My mother cannot eat too quickly. She is still weak." Rylan carefully transferred the meal into a woven basket. The dragon leaned over, watching each movement to ensure it was done correctly. Together they carried the basket carefully toward the northern forest, moving slowly over the soft grass and uneven terrain. Rylan kept one hand near the basket to steady it, while the dragon balanced it with its claws and wings. When they reached the clearing where the dragon mother rested, she looked weaker than the day before. Her scales were pale and she lay curled among soft leaves. The little dragon lowered the basket to the ground and stepped back, urging Rylan to do the same. "Now," the dragon said softly, "we must let her eat slowly. She needs to regain strength bit by bit." The mother dragon sniffed the food, then gently began to eat. Her tail twitched slightly, and her eyes brightened with each careful bite. The little dragon perched nearby, watching every movement, whispering encouragement softly. Rylan observed in awe. The healing was gradual but noticeable. Strength returned slowly to the dragon mother's muscles. Color returned to her scales. She lifted her head slightly, glancing at Rylan and the little dragon, and released a low, warm sound of recognition and relief. The forest seemed calmer. Birds sang softly from the trees, and the wind carried a gentle fragrance of flowers and herbs. Rylan realized that this day had been more than cooking. He had learned not just recipes but patience, observation, and trust. Each gesture mattered. Every choice of heat, movement, and timing was part of a larger whole that respected life. The little dragon looked up at him, eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you," it whispered. "Without your care, without your attention, she would not survive. Humans, you can be very kind." Rylan smiled, his hands tired but steady. "And you have taught me that trust and careful action are just as important as skill. We can learn from each other." For the rest of the day, they worked in harmony, preparing smaller portions for the dragon mother's recovery. Each step brought more understanding. Rylan began to notice subtle signs in the dragon mother's condition: the way she lifted her head, the brightness in her eyes, the gentle movement of her tail. He realized that healing required patience, observation, and empathy, just as much as careful cooking. When the sun began to set, the meal was finished. The mother dragon had regained enough strength to lift herself fully and move slowly among the trees. She nuzzled her child in gratitude, and the little dragon turned to Rylan, bowing its head slightly. "You have saved her," it said softly. "You have done what no human has ever done." Rylan shook his head. "I only followed your guidance," he said. "You brought me trust, and together we made it happen. That is what matters." The little dragon smiled, small wings twitching with happiness. It had learned that humans could be trusted, and Rylan had learned that dragons could teach wisdom and care beyond words. The bond between them had grown stronger, built not on fear or power, but on shared effort, patience, and understanding. As they returned to the settlement, the forest seemed to glow with a quiet warmth. Rylan carried not only the knowledge of the healing recipes but also a deeper sense of connection, an understanding that kindness, attention, and trust could cross even the greatest divides between species. By the time they reached the human settlement, the sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. Rylan and the little dragon paused, watching the sky together, knowing that the work of healing had only begun, but that the lessons of trust and cooperation would last far longer than any single meal. In the quiet of that evening, Rylan realized something important. True strength was not in force or fire. It was in patience, learning, and care. And through this small act, a bridge had formed between human and dragon, one that would grow stronger with every shared meal, every gesture, and every moment of understanding. The morning light filtered softly through the trees as Rylan and the little dragon approached the clearing where the dragon mother rested. The forest was quiet, but the air felt alive, humming with energy from the rare vegetables and herbs that had been carefully prepared the day before. The mother dragon lay curled among soft moss and fallen leaves, her scales pale and her breathing shallow. Each rise and fall of her chest was measured, fragile, but steady. The little dragon lowered the woven basket carefully to the ground, its small claws trembling slightly. "Mother," it whispered gently, "I brought the meal. Please, eat slowly." Rylan knelt beside the basket, watching as the dragon mother sniffed the food. Her eyes opened briefly, a faint gleam of recognition shining within them. She leaned toward the meal cautiously, testing it with a small nibble. The little dragon hovered close, wings tucked carefully, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. Rylan observed quietly, noting the way the mother dragon moved, the way her muscles flexed as she took each bite. He had learned the delicate timing and preparation of the ingredients from the little dragon, and now it was paying off. Strength returned gradually but clearly with each carefully prepared portion. "She is very weak," the little dragon said softly. "She cannot eat too fast. She must regain her strength slowly. Every bite counts." Rylan nodded. "I understand. Patience is part of healing." Together, they watched the dragon mother continue to eat. Her scales began to shine faintly, their dullness replaced by a subtle glow. Her tail flicked slightly, a small sign of regained energy. The little dragon chirped softly in relief, and Rylan felt warmth spread through his chest. It was the first sign of hope he had seen since they arrived. "Her strength, it returns," the little dragon said, its voice barely above a whisper. "I can feel it in her body. The herbs, you're cooking, it works." Rylan smiled faintly. "It is not only my cooking," he said. "It is our work together. Your guidance, your care, it made this possible." As the mother dragon continued, other forest creatures began to notice the activity. Birds sang softly from the trees, their calls gentle and curious. Small animals watched from the shadows, sensing the change in the energy around the clearing. The air felt warmer, brighter, as if the forest itself was celebrating the return of life. The mother dragon paused after a few bites, resting her head on her front claws. Her breathing was steadier now, and her eyes shone brighter than before. The little dragon approached her gently, brushing a small claw against her side. "You are stronger," it whispered. "I told you humans can help. They can be kind." The mother dragon lifted her head fully and gazed at Rylan. Recognition and gratitude filled her golden eyes. She released a low, soft rumble that vibrated through the clearing, a sound of relief and appreciation. Rylan knelt, keeping his hands visible and calm, understanding that this was her way of saying thank you. Hours passed as they monitored her progress. The mother dragon ate slowly but steadily, growing stronger with each bite. Rylan adjusted the portions carefully, ensuring that the balance of herbs and vegetables remained perfect. The little dragon hovered nearby, assisting with guidance and careful observation. "You have saved her," the little dragon said finally, voice trembling with emotion. "I could not have done it alone. She would not have survived without you." Rylan shook his head, smiling. "We did it together," he said. "Your trust made this possible. You guided me and I followed. That is how healing works." By late afternoon, the mother dragon could lift her head fully and move her limbs with ease. Her scales regained a healthy sheen, and her eyes sparkled with strength and clarity. The little dragon chirped in joy, circling above her in small, excited loops. Even the wind seemed to respond, rustling leaves and carrying soft, warm currents through the clearing. Rylan felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had come to the forest to help a dragon, but he had gained much more than he expected. He had learned patience, empathy, and the value of trust across species. The bond between human and dragon had grown stronger, rooted in cooperation, care, and understanding. The mother dragon stretched slowly, testing her wings. She lifted them tentatively, then folded them back, testing strength that had returned after days of careful feeding. Her eyes met Ryland's once more, and she released a low, steady rumble that seemed to say, "We are no longer enemies. You're a friend." The little dragon landed beside the basket, wings quivering slightly, and looked at Ryland. "See? Kindness is stronger than fear. It can save lives. Even dragons, even humans." Ryland smiled, brushing his hands on his apron. "And we can learn from each other," he said. "Your guidance taught me to pay attention, to act carefully, to trust. You have shown me much." The mother dragon rose fully, moving slowly through the clearing, testing her strength with each step. The little dragon followed, circling around her with protective care. Ryland stepped back to give them space, feeling pride and humility at the same time. He realized that the meal had been only a part of the healing. The true recovery came from trust, understanding, and shared effort. As the sun began to set, the clearing glowed with soft light. The mother dragon stretched her wings fully, powerful yet graceful, and let out a gentle roar that was not one of anger or warning, but of renewed life. The sound echoed through the trees, carrying a message of hope. Ryland watched quietly. He understood that the mother dragon's recovery meant more than the return of her strength. It symbolized the beginning of a new relationship between humans and dragons, a relationship based on respect, cooperation, and kindness rather than fear or power. The little dragon perched on a branch, looking at both Ryland and its mother with pride and gratitude. "You see," it said softly, "we are stronger together. We can face anything if we trust and care for one another." Ryland nodded. "Yes," he said. "And this is only the beginning." The forest seemed to settle around them, quiet and warm, as if it too recognized the change. The mother dragon lay down once more, but this time with energy returning, eyes alert, and scales shining. The little dragon curled beside her, resting but still watchful. Ryland stepped back, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished. Through patience, trust, and kindness, life had returned to the dragon mother. And in doing so, a new understanding had grown, one that could shape the way humans and dragons live together for years to come. Ryland left the clearing with a sense of quiet joy, knowing that sometimes the greatest victories were not won with strength or weapons, but with care, attention, and the courage to help when it was most needed. The bridge between species had been strengthened, one careful meal at a time, and the bond of trust would carry them forward into the future. Weeks passed, and the forest around the dragon's home grew quieter, calmer, and warmer. The dragon mother moved easily now, testing her wings and stretching her strong limbs without pain. The little dragon was always near her side, happy and proud that she had recovered. Ryland continued to visit, carrying fresh vegetables, herbs, and small tools to help with cooking. Each day was a lesson, not just in preparation but in understanding and connection. Word of the human chef's work spread slowly at first. Neighbors whispered about the small dragon and the chef who had prepared a special meal that saved the life of a dragon. Soon the story reached other settlements and then even distant planets. Humans and dragons alike spoke of it in wonder. The idea that a human could gain the trust of a dragon, and that a dragon could ask for help instead of using fear, fascinated everyone. Ryland had grown comfortable in the forest. He no longer felt nervous around the dragons. Instead, he moved with calm confidence, respecting their space and listening carefully to the little dragon's guidance. Together, they experimented with new dishes, combining human ingredients with alien herbs, learning from one another. The little dragon's instincts guided him, while Ryland's knowledge of cooking helped translate those instincts into meals that could truly heal and nourish. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, the mother dragon rose fully into the air, flapping her wings with strength and grace. The little dragon soared around her, chirping happily. Ryland watched from below, smiling, feeling a sense of peace he had never experienced before. The little dragon turned to him, eyes bright. "You see, humans and dragons, we can help each other. We can learn from one another. Together we are stronger." Ryland nodded. "Yes. You have taught me patience, trust, and understanding. And you have shown me that kindness can reach farther than fear ever could." The mother dragon landed nearby, resting gently on the grass. She nudged the little dragon and then turned her gaze toward Ryland. Though she could not speak human words, her eyes reflected gratitude, trust, and respect. In that moment, the bond between them, human and dragons, felt unbreakable. Other dragons began to visit the forest cautiously, curious about the humans who had helped one of their own. They observed quietly, not with anger but with interest. And other humans too began to approach the forest edge with curiosity, bringing tools, herbs, and questions. Over time, a small community formed where dragons and humans shared knowledge, meals, and friendship. Rylan realized that what had begun as a single act of help had grown into something far greater. He was no longer just a chef. He was a bridge between two worlds that had feared and misunderstood each other for centuries. And it was not force or strength that had created this connection. It was care, patience, and the courage to act when someone needed help. One evening, as Rylan prepared a new mixture of herbs and vegetables with the little dragon guiding him, the dragon mother approached slowly. She had recovered fully, but her steps were gentle, as if testing the trust that had grown between them. The little dragon chirped happily, encouraging its mother to come closer. Rylan laid out the ingredients carefully. The dragons watched with curiosity, and he explained each step as he worked. The mother dragon lowered her head slightly, sniffing the mixture, and then gently touched one of the herbs with her claw. It was a gesture of trust, simple but powerful. The little dragon perched on Rylan's shoulder, whispering guidance softly. She is learning. She is beginning to understand how humans can help, not harm. This is the start of something new. Rylan smiled, placing a small piece of the prepared meal near the mother dragon. She tasted it carefully, and when it was correct, a soft glow seemed to radiate from her scales. The forest itself seemed to respond, light filtering through the trees, warmth spreading across the clearing. From that day, humans and dragons began to meet more often. Simple tasks became shared lessons. Cooking, healing, and understanding took the place of fear and suspicion. The little dragon acted as a teacher and guide, helping humans learn the needs of dragons, while Rylan shared his knowledge of food, care, and patience. Together, they built a community based on trust, respect, and friendship. Rylan often reflected on how small acts could change so much. The little dragon had come seeking help for its mother, and through that act, an entire relationship between species had shifted. Humans were learning that dragons were not merely powerful creatures to fear, they were beings capable of trust, affection, and understanding. Dragons were learning that humans could be more than fragile and weak, they could offer care, knowledge, and genuine compassion. Seasons changed, and the forest became a place of harmony. The little dragon and its mother moved freely among humans, exploring the settlement and helping teach others. Rylan continued to cook, guided by both dragons, creating meals that healed and nourished. He realized that true strength was not in weapons or force, but in patience, empathy, and courage. One day, as the sun set in a sky painted with orange and purple hues, the little dragon flew to Rylan and perched lightly on his shoulder. "Look at what we have done together," it whispered. "We have built trust. We have saved lives. And now, we have built friendship that can change worlds." Rylan nodded, gazing at the mother dragon who rested nearby, wings folded but eyes bright and alert. "Yes," he said softly. "And this is only the beginning. If we continue to care, to teach, and to learn, the worlds we live in will be better for it." The mother dragon released a soft, deep rumble, a sound of agreement and gratitude. The little dragon chirped happily, circling above. Rylan looked around at the forest, the clearing, the creatures, and the humans who had come to observe quietly. For the first time, he understood that this friendship, built from trust, patience, and kindness, was powerful enough to ripple far beyond the forest. He realized that a single act of helping another, no matter how small, could grow into something that changed the way species, worlds, and hearts saw one another. The bridge between humans and dragons had been built. It was strong, steady, and growing with each passing day. The forest grew quiet again as night fell, but the warmth of trust and friendship remained. Rylan, the little dragon, and the mother dragon sat together in the clearing, watching stars appear in the sky. They knew that their worlds were different, yet connected, and that understanding and care could build something far greater than fear ever could. And from that day forward, humans and dragons learned to see each other not as enemies, but as friends, teachers, and allies. The simple act of kindness that had begun with a single meal had rewritten the story of their worlds, proving that courage and care could truly change everything.